Really excited about this. Welcome to my Road to Publish series. This is episode 1. And in this series, I'm going to be charting my road to publication. This is where I'm going to look at and talk about my work in progress, what I'm learning on the road to publication, all the practice I'm doing, all the experiences I'm having, plans for getting an agent and hopefully being traditionally published, just everything I can cram in for that road to publication. I want to do this because I want to document the journey. I really like making videos and I think this is a great opportunity to learn, but also listen and express. I want it to be something that helps others, but also helps me. And I want to do more YouTube, more videography and blah, 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 blah. So let's get into the first episode. Now, my work in progress is a fantasy. It hasn't always been steampunk, but it is now steampunk, and I will talk more about it as the weeks go on. I've been writing it for a very long time, on off, but over the last 5-6 years, it's really taken the front seat. I'm currently on a draft that I'm really happy with. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to finish this draft, then touch it up with feedback from others, and then hopefully send it out to agents. That's what this series is going to be following. Over the last week, I've been on chapter 5, finished that. So the story has different perspectives. The main character, Hallie, is one of her perspectives, her father's perspective, and then a third person perspective that covers the other characters. And this week I've finished chapter 5, which is a Hallie chapter. And I'm also on to chapter 6, which is a chapter with her father, which is in second person. The only difficulties I've had this week with it is just finding the time. That's always the difficulty. I do want to do 2 hours a day, but I find myself just getting into that a half an hour or it being pushed back into the evening. I'm a morning writer, but I find that if I don't get it done in the morning, that life just takes over. So there have been my struggles this week. It's just finding the time to write. It's always the struggles. But in terms of once I sit down and get going, the actual writing, I'm really enjoying at the moment. There are the positives of it, really. I'm actually enjoying what I'm writing and I'm avoiding the over editing or the perma editing, which I am very guilty of. Going forward for the next week. So hopefully in episode 2, what you'll be seeing is a more consistent kind of everyday 2 hours minimum of just sitting down and writing. So we'll see where that gets me next week. Practice for the last week. So I'm very much a kind of person that believes in practice and it's the only way you can get better, especially with writing. I think a lot of people just write and do it that way. They write and get better through that, but I specifically do practice. And one of those parts of the practice is I study other writers. So every month I pick a new writer to study. This month, the writer has been James Baldwin, just a writer I've always enjoyed, always kind of love his prose, love sentence structure, how he puts his ideas on a page. So I've been looking at his essays and unpicking what he does and what I like and then try to use it for myself. So this week I've looked at several of his essays. One that stood out was an essay that he wrote for his nephew. And just the ease of it. It's an essay to his nephew just talking about the world that he's been born into. And it's wonderfully written. And I've just been unpicking it, looking at his sentences, looking at just I love his clauses because he does something brilliantly where he'll say something and then he'll have an aside and then he'll go back to what he's saying. A lot of writers do that, but I just love how he does that. And it's something that I'm trying to incorporate in my own writing. So that's been part of my practice. And then with that, I've started writing essays on the Substack. Really, Substack, I'm one of those people. I will put my Substack in the description so that we can all see, or you can see what I've been doing. But that's been part of my practice. So I don't just write at the moment. I'm not just writing the novel. I'm also writing other things because it's about writing as many different things as possible. I've been writing essays on anything that takes my fancy, really, but that's been a great opportunity to then practice the things that I'm learning through my studying of authors. I read a book by I'm going to say she's not a politician because she wasn't elected. I'm going to say Faiza Sheen. She is a doctor, but she ran for an independent in a borough near me in 2024. And before that, she ran for Labour unsuccessfully. But I read her book and then I'm writing a short essay on what I've learned from it, just to get my thoughts clear, but also, like I said, to practice what I'm practicing. Also, over the last week I have several writing groups that I'm involved in, and one that I started this year called Sad Man Tapas Club, I've really enjoyed it. Cool name, right? Sad Man Tapas Club. But that's in central London, was introduced by a friend, and everyone there, you've got lots of different kind of writers. They focus on the short story, and it's kind of encouraged me to write more short stories, and hence why I'm doing the essays. But I am going to be this year, which hopefully you'll see in the next few episodes, but I'm going to be doing more short stories and trying to send them off to competitions, touch wood. But I've been loving that, and I think of the murder session last week with Sad Man Tapas Club and just seeing how other people write and their ideas and how they put them on the page. And it's not just the ideas. I love the ideas that other people have, and I love reading other ideas, but it's how they bring them to life. I'm always looking at it going, oh, how could I do that? I like that. How could I incorporate that in my own? I'm always thinking that whenever I'm reading anything. So that's been great. And I've also got a writing group with 3 other friends. We meet every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And we met last Thursday, and I didn't have anything to share because I'm in that kind of write mode, and I didn't want to I've been in a bit of a perma-edit phase, and I'm trying to avoid that. So I didn't want to share and then end up editing because of what I've been told from the session. So I didn't share anything this week, but a friend of mine shared just the themes of his story, and we discussed how the themes that he wants to share and how he can bring them out through the story. So that was really cool. I'm one for themes a bit later. I'm one for themes after the story, going back and then trying to draw them out through the editing. But he's on the other side of it. I think he wants to feed the themes in while he's creating the story, which is not how I would do it, but it's not right or wrong. It's just different. So I also, in this series, I'm going to be looking at just anything else in my week that's helped me on the road to publication, on the journey. And on Friday, I saw my brother's, the 40th anniversary release of Akira. Sorry, I can't remember the name. It's not the IMAX. It's like I think it's the BIMAX or the YMAX, the fake IMAX. They've given the license to smaller screens around the country. So we went to Greenwich to watch that. And I've seen Akira over the years, but I loved seeing it on the big screen. I think this sound was brilliant. I wasn't overly impressed with the restoration because it is an old copy of a film, and the restoration wasn't the best, but it was still great. And to see that on the screen. And what Akira does really well is it doesn't give you everything. It's about, you think of an onion and just peeling back the layers. Akira's very good at that. It gives you answers and then it creates new questions and whatnot. So just watching that and seeing how it's done. I think in the next couple of days, I'm going to get the manga of Akira because I didn't realize it was a manga until discussing it. And then after you watch a film and then you do your Wikipedia research, I did that on Friday night and didn't realize how different the anime and the manga were. So I'm going to go grab that in the next couple of days and just give that a read. Really good. Just seeing Akira, and just Japanese storytelling is so different to Western storytelling. And I've read over the years a few more Japanese kind of stories, and I always come away with them just, they make you think, and they're just so different. It's always interesting just how different they tell their stories and the kind of expectations they have on the audience. I love it. And just last night, another thing I watched was the new Riz Ahmed series, Bait. I watched a couple of episodes a few weeks ago, and I watched up to episode 5 last night. And the thing that I've taken from that is the main character, Shah, played by Riz Ahmed, is wholly unlikable. And I think so many times you see a story and characters and writers want to make the character or their lead character likable. And I'm always thinking, why is that important? Why do you want a likable character? You just want a character who's understood, from my opinion anyway. You want a character who's understood and we can relate to, if not kind of like. I think that the whole kind of likable thing is not something that I go for, but I do get it. But I think you understand this character that Riz Ahmed's playing, the Shah character. He is a mess and wholly unlikable, and things keep getting worse for him. I'm only on episode 5 or 6, but things keep getting worse and worse. And you're thinking, when is it going to turn? And it's all getting worse because of him and his behavior and his flaws. So if you're a writer wanting to look at a flawed character and how to use those flaws to worsen the situation of the character and worsen their journey, it's a great story to look at. It's a great watch. It's a mess. It's a great show. Right, guys, that was it. Thank you so much for watching the first episode, the beginning of the journey to publication. As I've said, hopefully I'm going to finish this redraft and then be sending it out to agents. Don't know how long that's going to take. I hate putting time on these things. Hopefully you'll follow, stick around, get to be involved. If you've got any comments, anything to say, love to hear it. Have you seen Akira? Have you seen Bait? Anything at all, just drop in the comments, meet me there, and I will get involved. Hopefully catch you next time.